I don't know in this day and age with the amount of things that we consume, and it's hard for me to say this because I'm somebody who like my job is making things for people to consume, and I hope it's valuable. I hope it's
Yeah.
entertaining. I hope it, adds value to their life. But I think we just have so many things that you could, and this is from my experience, that there are times where like I don't even know what my own thoughts sound like anymore because I'm just filling them with other people or other things. It's like giving yourself that time and space, like, oh, that's actually me. That's my brain. Those are my ideas.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Moments That Matter podcast. I'm your host, Jason Crepero, and in each episode, we take a deep dive into the pivotal moments that have forged the journeys of today's leaders. Today, I'm joined by Jon Bumhoffer from Modern Hotelier Media. How are you, Jon?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. We're so happy to have you on the show today. For those who may not be familiar with you or the work that you're doing, can you give a brief overview?
Yeah, so I am the founder and lead producer at a video production agency. We mainly focus on podcasts and corporate video events. It's called Make More Media. And then also I'm a partner at the Modern Hotelier Media and work on their podcasts and work in a lot of hospitality industry and hotel content with that. So that's what I'm currently focused on right now.
Awesome, awesome. And so sounds like is the podcast also, the folks that you help from your own agency side, is that mainly focused in travel and hospitality, or is that industry agnostic?
So I have done quite a few in travel and hospitality, and then I also have done things from working with universities, working with large insurance companies, large uh, industrial automation companies, all over the gamut. But by and large, I would say if you had to categorize it, it's been mostly hospitality, which is kind of interesting because that's when I was, in college, I was working a lot of hospitality, and so kind of finding my way back into that is an interesting space to be in, and I don't I like it, so it's cool to be here.
Yeah. So you mentioned hospitality in college. What were you doing there?
So I went when I was in college, most of my work, like just, finding jobs to support myself through college was I started with banquet or setup in a hotel like conference center. From there it was then doing setup, leading setup, and doing banquet bartending, then banquet serving and like kind of the whole thing. It all kind of melds together. And then eventually I was like the banquet manager for a few years at a hotel conference center. Yeah.
Where was this? Where'd you go to school?
I went to school two different places. I originally studied for 2 years to be a pastor, so that's what I started for 2 years. But I've always played music. I love music. I'm an audio engineer, and so after I stopped, after 2 years of starting to become a pastor, this is in Minnesota. I transferred to Minnesota State University where I studied music industry and audio there.
Fantastic. And we were talking beforehand. You said you were in a band. When was the earliest age that you were in a band?
Yeah, so I played music. I've been into music kind of my whole life. I started playing piano when I was like third grade. I'm ashamed of how bad I am. I should be good. Like I took lessons all throughout high school, but I really fell in love with guitar. I got a guitar when I was like 13. And since then, I've been playing, kind of writing my own music. And in high school, kind of dabbled with groups of guys getting together, putting bands together. And then college, kind of found our footing as putting together a band. And we toured a bunch. We're still together. We're actually working on a record right now.
No way.
Yeah. So during that time, I booked a lot of shows, toured a lot, recorded other bands, stuff like that. So.
Fantastic. And so is that where you got, kind of recording them, the whole media recording side? Is that where you really got bit by the bug and wanted to be more behind the scenes?
Yeah, I really liked playing the music, writing music, but I also really liked the idea of being able to capture it and be able to make something that would connect with other people, like stand the test of time, like a recording or something like that. So I really was interested in the production side. And yeah, you're right. That's where I got bit by the bug was somebody needed, we had songs and somebody needed to record them. I was really interested. So I, you piece together gear here and there and pick up stuff to be able to record bands. And then eventually, years down the line, I got into video, which is more of what I'm doing now. But yeah, that's where it all started.
So when you were touring, across the U.S., perhaps international, what was the best venue that you've ever played at?
Oh, the best venue. Um, there's like if you're into kind of alternative or punk music, there's a venue in California called Chain Reaction. Got to play there a few times. That would probably be the best, or I would say the most like iconic venue. That one that we were really stoked to play. There were a gamut of smaller venues throughout the country that we played a few times. That every time you went back, you were like, "Oh yeah, I really like being here." There's like one in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I think it was like called Skeletons or something. But every time we were there, we really liked that. There's like one in Sioux Falls too. So throughout the country, shout out to Fargo, the aquarium in Fargo, North Dakota. That was always one of our favorites,
You played
as
at the
well.
aquarium?
No, that's just the name of the venue. It's not like a real. I wish that would be really cool to play at a real
So
aquarium.
naive. I'm like, at the
Yeah. No,
aquarium.
it's like all these names are crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So Fargo was one of our favorite places. We're from Minnesota, so that was kind of like an extension of a hometown show. It's just like all our friends from like the next state. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the chain reaction here in Anaheim, man.
Yep.
And is this just was it? It looks like a smaller place. So was it just that you had it rocking and it was more intimate? You're like in
Yeah,
a box.
I mean, we never were that big. So we'd play and you'd get anywhere. We play at small clubs, small, like dive bar small clubs. And like that place, we were there with a couple other bands who were pretty good until we were on the bill, and so just the place was packed out, and it was really awesome. It was a cool energy. It sounded great. It sounded great in there. It just was really really cool to be there.
Awesome, man. And so you said you're recording an album now. What's the name of the band for those who are
Our
listening?
our band, our name is Weathered, like weather, Weathered, Weathered.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. And any timeline for the album?
Not really. So the short story is, we toured for about 7 years. Then COVID, we put a record out like right after COVID. But then I've got two kids now, and so we haven't toured or played since. So this would be our first record in about 5 years.
Oh,
And so I had the guys over here. Probably I think it was April. We tracked a bunch of songs, and now we're kind of in the process of putting the final touches on, getting the pieces put together, and then hopefully we'll have some songs out later this year and then a full record later.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really cool. It's cool too. That's something that you love to do as a child. You can also do as an adult. I don't find a lot of times that there's that parallel. You kind of have to put things away, put them in the box, and become an adult. But this is something that you love that you still get to do.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that yeah, I think it's informed a lot of my professional life and my skills, and then being able to go back into that. I think just creatively you just come up with new ideas, you learn new stuff, or you can take what you've learned professionally and apply it here. And I think one of the big benefits, and I tell this to anybody who's creative or not creative, like being in a band shows you the power of like a team, like
Mm.
especially when you're like this as a startup or building companies and stuff. It can be very lonely, and when you're trying to write music alone, it's sometimes hard. But to be able to just bring a group of guys, be able to bring an idea to a group of guys and say, hey, here's what I got, like let's put it together, and then it becomes something bigger than you even better than you even thought could be. You have just maybe an idea for like a guitar riff, and then it becomes a full song, and you get to see that play out, and you're like, I don't think I could have done this as well on my own, or at least it would have been something completely different, but I love how this turned out. So I think that's really cool.
It's funny you make the parallel too from a startup because that's how it is. People think either I go into a silo and I come up with a great idea or new feature, and it's really we have a channel on Slack, and the name of the channel is "Wouldn't It Be Cool If." And so
Nice.
we'll go
Yeah.
in there and be like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you didn't have to do this? You could actually just get that right there. And then the amount of activity on that. someone will be like, oh, that's really cool. Well, if you did that, then we could also do this. And so there's an idea, but then everyone rounds it out. And what you get is just like, as you said, a feature that no one could have thought of on their own. But when you roughed it up and you had the friction of other people, and oh, well, if we did this, then we could also add these two things. And remember that thing we thought about 5 years ago or 2 years ago? We can now incorporate that. It definitely gets it to a better place, and a place you didn't expect it to go.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. And we were talking, we had some interviews with the hotel group Stay Pineapple, with the Modern Hotelier. And one of the things that they do, I guess, as a leadership team that I heard about, I can't remember the name. It was like a cool name, like the big ass idea meeting, or it was like, or no dumb ideas or something. It was like once a month they have a meeting like this where it's like that, like just bring any idea to the table. And I think creating a space like that in companies where it's like your idea might not be fully formed, but that's okay. There are other people here to help, figure it out. I think I learned that, and I see the value of that. Like playing in bands, just bring what you have. And if it doesn't, because I think a lot of times you get too afraid, like you think something has to be polished before you can even tell anybody about it. But being able to create that space where you can just like, I've got this, it's kind of half baked, but I think it could be cool. Here it is.
Yeah, there's actually I don't know if you saw this on Instagram. There's a channel of the epiphany of bands making a song. And so sometimes they had like somebody just recording in the studio, or even when they were just playing around on the couches. And someone would be like, "Hold on, I got something," and they're like, "Hold on, play that in this chord," and then they're like, "Hold on, bring the drums in," and it's like, hold on, right here. I want you to pause right there and then hit them, and you see
Yeah.
in real time the iterations from like the initial idea to hold on, like we might have something here. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
there's something that happens when you're in a room, ideas are bouncing off of each other, and that real-time feedback I think is like super important.
I don't think teams take enough time um, to really let people think. Like overworking people is is an epidemic. Like I literally am telling people, especially my creative people, not the people that just they do the same thing over and over again and there's really no creativity, but the people that are tasked with ideating and iterating and taking something that we know like a video player and just evolving it like that requires thought. And a lot of times it's subconscious thought, and subconscious brain performs exponentially better than the conscious brain. If we all sat in a room and said, we need to think of this idea, a lot of times it's not going to happen right then and there. They need time to clean their house or go on a hike or do something else, put the subconscious at task, and then it'll come to them. An hour in, they're like, wait, I've got it. And we make a good effort to tell people, take a 3-day weekend, take a 4-day weekend, or take this time to just think. Everyone's schedules now is like back to back to back, and people wear it like a badge of honor. Like, I had 12 meetings today. I'm like, but you're the most critical piece to this whole puzzle. Like, did you have time to think? That's really important for you to do.
I think that's so important. It's really cool to hear you say that because I think the same. It's hard, as a business owner, as somebody working in multiple ventures, the danger is stacking all of those things and not get, and especially as a creative, as a technical creative myself, it's hard to carve out time, but it's really important to do that. One of the things that you see over and again with like famous writers, for instance, is
Mm.
that a lot of them are walkers. They would go on a lot of walks. That was very important to their process. But I've heard that some people would like finish, like they would end their work for the day with like leaving an open-ended sentence. So
Mm.
it created kind of an open loop that subconsciously would, then they would go for a walk or they'd go throughout the rest of their day. And then when they sat back down the next day, like things had kind of worked themselves out subconsciously.
That's
Um,
exactly it.
yeah. And it's like your brain you have these you don't want to have like stressful open loops where you're like, I got to get this done today, there's a deadline. But like when you're working on a problem that you're trying to figure out a solution for, or ideating some new feature or something, having these just being able to give yourself space, your brain is still working on it and it's taking all of your experience and working through that. And I think that's really cool, and it is really important. We tend to overwork ourselves and not give ourselves the space, and I think we need
Everyone's
to do that.
overscheduled. Everyone's overscheduled and overstimulated. And if most people would truly just go to a place and sit for 30 minutes and not think, you don't even have to think about the issue. Just sit in silence, it will come to you. Like Einstein said, I would try to solve a problem 200 times. I go for a swim and it comes to me. Swimming is also another great one because you're just in the water and you're focused, especially if it's just a lane, right? And you're not like out in open water. It's just a lane. And so the only thing you have is to be able to think and form ideas. But yeah, just getting the rest and the space to be able to be creative. A lot of people think that you can take someone that has experience and has education and you can just put them in a room with a problem and then they're going to solve it, like the hackathons and stuff like that. Like a lot of times it's the space and the distance and allowing the brain to work that really comes with like, and a lot of times the ideas that we come up with, they were so simple. Like when we put
Yeah.
products out and features, people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't think of this." And we too, we're just like, we didn't think of this. We just put out a new one for a client, Breeze Airways. And what I'm about to say is so basic. It comes with a combination of some stuff we recently learned, but especially on their mobile, they have thumbnails. And we came out with a feature called Fill, which filled the space of like big rectangular images. And so you'd get this beautiful landscape video in the real estate that an image used to be. And the human brain can process an image in 13 milliseconds. It's faster processing than it takes you to blink, even. So once you've processed the image, you don't need it anymore. It can turn into a video, right? Or it can do something else. It can even turn into the next image. And so once that image is processed, we can do that. So we had this, and I was like, well, why can't we make the thumbnails become videos as well, just automatically, based on where the image is placement wise? And so we thought about it, and we thought about it. We took a break. We came back the next day, and I was just like, I got it. And I don't know if it, just waking up, brushing your teeth, right? Just
Yeah.
like, hold on a second. The reason we couldn't do it initially, there were height and width constraints. And this sounds so easy after the fact. You're like, oh, yeah, you could have done this. The reason we couldn't do it before is because we had the player controls, the play, the scrubber, the mute, all of those. And so I just said, what if we autoplay the video, but the video is just like a looping GIF? No audio, no play. It's just play, pause, play, pause. And they're like, yeah, we could do that. And then we iterated that. We put it out. It's working great for them. And what's really cool is it just makes sense. You're scrolling through a seat selection and you come to nice or nicest. And as you pause briefly to look and read, the image turns into a nice video showing you what you're going to get in the seat selection. But it sounds so obvious, but it was one of those things that we came to realize just through space and time.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I want to add to that I've, as somebody who like works on music, I live in podcast world. I consume quite a bit of content is when you go for a walk or you go on a run or ride your bike or whatever it is, the temptation so often for myself is pop in the earbuds, like find a podcast, audiobook, music. But the reality is like that's not letting your brain actually think. Sometimes music, depending on the music, can, but you're like putting another voice now in your head, and now you're kind of thinking about that thing, and
Mm-hmm.
but you're not, your brain's not actually like thinking about that. So I've had to like discipline myself to, because the temp for me, it's like what I want to do is I want to grab the earbuds and pop them in and go for a walk, but just like taking nothing with me, like no phone, nothing, just like that's been super helpful. Just, if I'm stuck on a problem here in my office or I'm like working on an edit or something and I just like I'm getting nowhere, I'll just like go for a walk. Or I have to like get myself out of here, go for a walk and be like, you know what, you're just banging your head against the wall. Get out for a little bit,
It's so funny. Like the last, probably 2 out of the last 3 weeks on a Friday, I'm just like, hey, I'm leaving my last minute. My wife's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm gonna rent an Airbnb, like a little tent, a cabin, a getaway up in the Poconos or something. I'm like, I just need to connect and think. And so I'll take one kid, or this past weekend I took all three kids to a place called Magical Treehouse. And they had, it was basically a yurt or a bigger tent. And it opened up on the deck to just a big field. And we're sitting there with my kids, and I brought some art supplies, some paints for them and stuff. My wife doesn't camp, so I just took them out. And they're like, what should we do? And I was like, we don't have to do. We can just be. We can just be. And so for kids too that are used to like the
Yeah.
iPad and teaching and playing with each other and go, 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 like my kids will come in from playing with one group of friends, grab a drink of water and be like, I'm going up to Ty's. And so they're like all over scheduled. And it's just like, just be, just think. And they don't know what I'm saying when I tell them this all the time, though. I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if you just sat in silence and thought an original thought? Just, you can just think. And it was such an awesome weekend. We went down to the creek. We sat. We listened. They love to, go into the creek. They're basically creek hunters at this point. We go. We're in nature. They sit down. They swim. I bring all their stuff and towels and whatnot. But it's so nice to just connect with nature and allow yourself that break from the urban, from the suburban. It's really nice to get out.
Yeah, and I think this is maybe a more philosophical thing, but I think one of the things that I've been thinking about is that I don't know in this day and age with the amount of things that we consume, and it's hard for me to say this because I'm somebody who like my job is making things for people to consume, and I hope it's valuable, I hope it's
Yeah.
entertaining, I hope it, adds value to their life. But I think we just have so many things that you could, and this is from my experience that there are times where like I don't even know what my own thoughts sound like anymore because I'm just filling them with other people or other things. It's like giving yourself that time and space. Like, oh, that's actually me. That's my brain. Those are my ideas.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it can be scary though. Like if you haven't given yourself that space in a long time, that's why people have why boredom is such a hard thing to sit with is because it's just you.
Mhm.
And so getting comfortable with that, I think is like as a creative or just a human, I need to be better at that. And I think that's something that other people could, benefit from too.
Absolutely. It's even more difficult now with so many other noises. And so my we host community group here for our church on Tuesday nights. And one of the things we're always talking about is like, where's your place to just go and be with God and like hear him and be in his presence. And so it's funny because my wife, more so than I, deliberately will like wake up early, get into the Bible. And it's funny though, because of all of the other noise and stimulation and stuff, you really have to just be secluded, have that time, be in the word and what we find is then you're always like, well, is that me sub vocalizing? Is this me telling myself this, or is this God talking to me and through me? But it's one of those things that you get to hear that better when there's no noise, when you've
Yeah.
taken yourself out of everything. There's no TV. And everybody's got their own space. I also hear a lot of people. I have not been a meditator historically. I don't know if you have. I just find it
Not
really,
really, no.
even the guided ones. I struggle to get through 7 minutes. I just turn it off. But I think that's probably because of the overstimulation as well.
Yeah, yeah. As a Christian, you're right. Like you being in the word is really important. And I think it applies to whatever you're focused on or whatever you is like the refocusing of it. Because there's something I forget the passage, I'm gonna butcher it, but there's something about like it's like a man who having looked in a mirror walks away and forgets what he looks like.
Hmm.
And like so when you're not like as a Christian you're not reading God's word or you're not taking that time or going to that place to do that, then you kind of forget about who you are, who God says you are, and then you apply that to other areas of your life. Okay, as a business, what are you focused on? If you're not like reorienting or refocusing, there's the shiny object syndrome. So you walk away and it's like you forget what your business's mission is. You forget what you look like. And I
Yeah.
think that's an interesting idea too.
Oh, you could basically assume the identity of a firefighter and just go looking for the next fire,
Yeah.
just constantly. What needs my attention? I've been reading a lot on and listening a lot on signal to noise ratio. Have you
Yeah,
heard
I love
about
that.
this?
Yep, yep.
And so they were talking. This was Mr. Wonderful, the clip that I saw about Steve Jobs signal. Like, what do we have to do? What's the most important thing we can do in the next 18 hours? That's the focus. And then the noise. He said focus was 80, and the noise was like 20. Like all the extra stuff, the little fires that really don't mean much, that are taking anything preventing you from getting stuff done is the noise. And then he said Elon Musk is like 100 to 0. It's just 100% focus, 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 almost no noise. Not recently, probably with like do
Yeah.
everything there. But it's so funny because if if you focus on the noise and you give it any attention at all, it can totally distract you. And focus is like one of the aside from when focus is one of the most important words we think internally in business. It's just you have to stay focused. We try to give people time, put a screen up that says like, hey, I'm heads down. The disruption, staying focused on your industry, focused on the customer. It's really difficult with today and the proliferation of all of the things that can be noisy. Well, it could be your family, spouse, kids. It could be industry. I find when I go on LinkedIn, even, and I know everybody loves LinkedIn, and there's so much going on, and you got to stay prevalent. Stay on LinkedIn. It's kind of a rabbit hole. That could be the noise as well. You want to stay up on it, but that can also be so much noise. I go there, I'm like, wow, man, everybody's putting something out nowadays.
Yeah, that's so I found myself like even this morning I'm like, okay, that's enough time on it's just like catching up on my notifications. All right, that's enough time. I'm like feel myself just like procrastinating, wasting time and not being focused. Yeah.
Wild, wow. Awesome. So how did it come about that you were running your own agency and then you paired up with David and Steve, or did you bring the idea to them? Were they looking for a producer? How did the collaboration come together?
So they were one of my clients originally. Like they started out, they were one of the clients. So because the podcast started as there is a company called Stay Flexi that does PMS for for hotels and hospitality. Steve was their U.S. director of sales, and and David was an advisor of them at that time, and so they had the idea to create a podcast to brand awareness, just kind of a marketing for them. And they were they were one of my clients. They hired me to do that, and we had really good success in the first couple of years. But then the agency, or not the company, Stay Flexi, they were an Indian-based company, and they decided not to focus on US anymore. So basically, let Steve go. But we still we felt like the podcast had a lot of momentum, myself included, and we still wanted to do it. So what ended up happening is like David and Steve kind of took over the podcast and then brought me in as a partner. And now we've kind of expanded into the media side where we do a lot more content for hotels, content for vendors, live events and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so that arm is super interesting too. And I know we've talked to the team about collaborating, partnering, but you're taking a different approach on it. You're just not, out there doing the drone shots. You're actually telling the story from the standpoint, the viewpoint of the people that are telling and curating the story for their guests. How did you all decide on the format?
Yeah, so the format, while we're still iterating and we always want to keep making it better, the format, like as silly as it sounds, was um inspired by like MTV Cribs. Like just that kind of informal format of like, hey, come check out my spot. I want to show you all the cool things, and for hotels, like having a GM or having an owner, whoever it is, that's like proud of their property and like taking you through the history that you wouldn't know about, taking you through what makes it special, from their perspective, is kind of like, hey, welcome to my house. I want to show you around, and so that's what we kind of wanted to do. Yeah, there's a lot of things out there where you have the beautiful like B-roll footage and drone footage. We obviously we want to make things look nice and we want to be able to make this content valuable, but we wanted to take a more like human approach to it, where it's like yeah, like me giving you a tour of my house type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. The couple of times when we've gone out and either done a tour of a hotel, a partner property, and the people there really know the history, and
Yeah.
there's actually like hidden little Easter eggs throughout the property. Two in particular come to mind. One, we met with an assistant GM at the Jacquard in Denver, Cherry
Okay.
Creek, Denver. It's one of the Stonebridge Company's properties. This guy took us on a tour and was into the history and nearby activities, this particular plot of land, the inspiration. He opened the door on each each floor and showed us how the art was different and the inspiration for that as well. And we were just walked away going like, holy cow, people that stay here must go beautiful property, amazing restaurant ground floor, rooftop pool and lounge. That's it. And it's really centrally located in Cherry Creek. But they would miss this if they didn't know, if
Hmm.
they didn't actually know the story. The second one that comes to mind is a Highgate property called the Refinery in New York City. We go through all these websites when we first engage with a client, and we're trying to figure out like what's differentiated. Why should people stay here? Why do they stay here? What's different and unique? And it's an old hat making factory, and they also on each floor have different vibes, whether it's the number or the art. And we're going through, I'm like, geez, I would have missed all of this. And then there's little exhibits downstairs that show a little bit of the history, which is great. So I love what you all are doing. How has it been going so far? Has there been a good response to the content that has been pushed out?
Yeah, there's a fairly good response. I think a lot of people in the industry like it. We're trying to find that footing where it's like, okay, um, how can this be really useful B2C while also be like as a B2B? Because by and large, our podcast is for the hospitality industry.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of our focus, and we do a lot of vendors, and we do a lot of just like hotel groups and stuff like that. And so now this kind of thing is more geared to like, it's obviously people in the hotel industry are interested in other properties, but like how can we make something that is valuable to a consumer. So that's kind of where we're trying to find it. It's gone really well so far, and we've been able, the nice part about when you do these shoots is you get a lot of content and then you can repurpose. So you get a lot of video footage that can be smaller clips, could be social media stuff, that could be like you used on your website, used in a hover capacity, right? The way you guys do it. So you get a lot of ammo when you do something like this. And we've got a really good reception so far. I think for us, it's just refining the format, finding out what's resonating. Because like what you just described, those two stories, that's kind of what we found. When people would take us around the property, you hear all this stuff because they're giving you all the secrets. But when they're like selling or they're talking about it with like general public, they don't really tell them all those things. But we thought like that's part of what makes this place special. So we want to make sure that gets highlighted. So I think
There's a way
we're
also to pull
yeah,
some of this out. Like we could probably just iterating on a feature here. We have video and we have audio. We could probably take the audio clip and let's say there's an image on somebody's site. When they hover over, let's say the dining room, we could play the audio clip of someone talking about the inspiration for it as well. Really cool. We've also thought about a bunch of different features that allow you to passively consume the site. Right now, websites are set up for you to go and hunt and discover,
yeah.
but they could passively come to you. No, I really dig it. I'm thinking of. I know a few of the properties you all have worked on, and one question I have for you is, what was the coolest, most unique property that you've had the pleasure of visiting? Now, I don't want you to tell me. I wrote down what I think the answer is.
You probably know the answer. So if you want to guess, go for it.
All right. I wrote it down. You tell me which one you think is
Okay.
the most unique, cool hotel you've been to, and then I'll show my
Okay.
answer.
Sounds good. I'll caveat this by saying, all the properties are cool because you get to see the uniqueness of like this property in this location and what it's like this because it's in, like that kind of thing. But the most unique property where I walked in, I was like, this is wild, was the Lafayette Hotel in San Diego. Is that
Laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that place is insane. It's a full city block in the middle of San Diego. Everything you walk in and it's wild. Like it's very, very eccentric. Everything in there's kind of an art piece. And then the food and beverage outlets, like there's a 24-hour dining car, like New York style, like old school diner in there that is open 24 hours. Then there's like a
Just for
really
the community, not even. I mean,
yeah,
hotel,
like
yes, sure, but
yeah,
like just
people
for the
come
community.
in late night and go to the diner, come in for breakfast, and we ate there. It was fantastic. They have the bar in the lobby is just very, it looks awesome. Like there's open clear glass ceilings, and it's a really cool vibe in there. There
I think David Milley told me there was like a carousel. Is there a carousel themed backpack
um
or
not
something?
a carousel. So the bar, there's a like their event space on the lower level. The bar is like circular,
Mm.
and it's not a carousel, but there's like cheetahs, and there's a
Oh,
bunch of like it's or jaguars, whatever. Yeah, it's wild. And the Mexican restaurant, they're just fantastic food, but like
yeah.
but also has a heaven and hell theme, like very dark, very like it's stained glass windows. Yeah,
It
it
seems
was.
like the type of place where there's just a surprise around every corner.
Yeah, it is. There's a surprise. Everything you go into a different spot, and it's like the pool is crazy unique too. There's a surprise around every corner, and everything in there is like kind of an artwork.
Mm.
And what I found most interesting is that it was renovated. It was like a $31 million renovation within the last I think 2 years ago it was renovated. But they did so in such a way where everything feels like it's been there forever. Like to the extent of like the art, the murals on the walls and the art, all of it has been aged. Like they took it through like in their event space, they have like fake, aging and water damage on the ceiling and like just to make it feel like it's always been there. It's like, and it does. If you walk in here, you're like, this feels like I'm stepping back in time or I'm stepping into another, another place. So very, very cool spot. So if anybody's in San Diego, check that out for sure.
It seemed like such an amazing spot.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And when you were interviewing those folks, what story were they trying to tell? Or what was the story, the history behind that?
So the GM, when we interviewed him, they because the building was built as a hotel, they wanted to keep all the unique things about the hotel, the kind of intact. Like the swimming pool is very unique, is kind of a cornerstone of the whole hotel. Um, and they were kind of creating a place that is like kind of wacky, kind of for the community, like this spot that you want, like if you live in the community, you want to go there, like it's where you're gonna go on a Friday night, or you're gonna go for breakfast. And they even to the extent like they want all of their staff to like want to hang out and stay after hours, like after you get off shift. We encourage people to like stay, go to the bar, go grab something to eat. And it seemed like everybody, like the staff included, was they felt like this was their place.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you all are now traveling the country with the media side, going to hotels, telling their story, getting the content. Anything on the horizon we should know about?
We coming up, we're going to be doing we're going to Colorado Springs and Denver. We've got Hotel Polaris, which is a new hotel opened up there. Kind of it's near the Air Force Base, or the Air Force Academy, I mean. That hotel, like I haven't been on property, but we've had meetings with them pre-production, and I've like kind of gone through the website, looked at all the pictures. Looks incredible. Like views just, and the amenities on there, like flight simulators and stuff like that. So very excited about that one. And then coming up the end of the year, we've got a few conferences and then more hotel tours yet to be announced for that as well. But yeah, our big one that one new thing that we did in addition to the hotel tours was we did all the production for the direct booking summit in Dallas. And that was
You guys did
everything
a
from.
great job out there.
Yeah, thank you. We had to put together a team, and it was just it was a wonderful time working with them and being able to like highlight everything that they did. And I thought that what turned out really well, and we're excited to do more of that stuff.
I feel like I saw you guys working every minute of the day.
Yeah.
Were you working like 20 hours a day?
They were long days. I will say that. You get there early, and then there's all the activities after hours, and then from the production standpoint, you got footage, to organize and to get through and set up for the next day. So yeah, long days for sure.
There was a time when I got off stage. They're like, "Hey, can you go meet with Modern Hotelier? They're going to interview you." And so we go into the room, and you guys have some questions, right? I'm answering. I felt like I went to my room, got changed for the evening party, and when I got up there, you guys were up there interviewing people already, like on the rooftop. I was like, "How did this happen?"
Yeah, we had put together an awesome small team, so dividing and conquering some of those areas and making sure we provided really good coverage for the whole event. And yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. And most of the fun was one, Triptease was awesome, but like having people like you, other like speakers and vendors there, it was just great people there as well. So it was awesome.
Very nice, man. Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to really enjoy that Hotel Polaris. We did a small sponsorship for the Coral Tree Leadership
Mm.
Summit in February, I believe, and we got to go out to that hotel. And I believe it was just like a month since they got their COO, so they were early in operation. Service was fantastic. The rooms, the spot is incredible, overlooking the mountains. And they even have a rooftop lounge, which is really amazing, gorgeous views up there. It's probably going to be better when you go than the cold of February.
That's what
Uh,
they're saying. Yeah, yeah.
but I'm a private pilot, and I've done aerobatics, loops, flips, spins, Immelmans, all types of stuff. And I went down and I wanted to do the simulator, and I got into, I believe it was a Hornet. It was one of the fighter jets, and they put on the 3D goggles, and you're literally in a real simulator. I mean, all the buttons and everything you can touch, and it was intense. And so I would recommend you do the fighter jet one, where you leave out of Las Vegas and you actually go into the dam there. You what is it? The drawing a blank. Hoover Dam. You go into the Hoover
Okay,
Dam,
yeah.
and you're turning, so quickly, and you've got to go through these hoops, and you're, maybe 50 feet above the water, cruising through, and many times really awesome experience. You feel like you're in Top Gun Maverick 2, the newest one that comes out, but highly recommend. And even for me, I mean, I took them off, and I was queasy. I was like, wow, what a rush. So you feel like you're in there. It was pretty
That's
awesome.
crazy. I've never done like that level of a simulator before, so I'm a little like I want to do it. I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm excited to try it. So thanks for that recommendation.
Um, yeah. So what's really cool is, and you don't realize this because you're going so fast, you pull out of Nellis Air Force Base in Vegas, and you are to the Hoover Dam in like 10 seconds. 20 seconds. Like, that's how fast you're going. You're covering so much land. And so he's like, "Okay, we're gonna go out to Hoover Dam." I'm like, "I know this. I know the geography out there. That's gonna take a while." He's like, "You're approaching it." I'm like, "Wow." And what's cool is it's just like a simulator. If you're doing a car, the guy stays with you right there too, and he'll guide you and everything, so he
Wow, that's cool.
demystifies it all. But really cool.
Really cool.
Well, hey, we're coming at time here. Just one more question. We do try to attract the younger audience as well. I do a lot with young people at universities, and so hopefully they're listening today. If someone were aspiring to get into media, whether it's on the video side, podcast side, just general media, any tips? It sounds like you took a very specific path, and had some opportunities that you took advantage of throughout. But any advice for people that are coming out? Maybe they're just graduating college, or maybe they're trying to figure out what their future holds for them in college, that they can keep with them.
Yeah, I think just getting out there and doing the work that you want to like be known for, just start doing stuff. Even if you're getting paid for it right away or not, I think you just need to get some of that stuff under your belt so you feel comfortable in different situations. So whether that's, if you're trying to do video content, just start like create your own little show. You don't even have to show anybody. Just like start doing stuff. The other thing is the one thing I think of because I came from, bands and you're making our own music and like kind of the real, very creative, but very like we're just writing music, not just writing music, but I would say like when you're doing this and you're trying to get into it for business, like think about where the skill set you have, the taste you developed intersects with what the market wants. For me, that was like I'm an audio engineer. I know how to, use microphones and process audio and make things sound good. I also know that there's businesses out there that want audio content. So how does my skill set intersect and how can I provide value? So it's not only thinking about like, oh, I really just want to get paid to like write music that I want to make all day long. It's like, no, you kind of have to understand where that intersects with the market and the business place. So I think that those are the things you kind of got to think about.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if anyone's listening, they want to get a hold of you. They want to. Maybe it's a hotelier who wants your services as well, or someone just wanting to start their own podcast. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so if you're looking to do video content or podcasts, audio video podcasts for your business, you can get a hold of me at Jon, at makemore.media. Or if you're really interested in the media production side for hotels, you can reach me at that too, but Jon, at the modernhotelier.media as well.
Awesome. Great interview with Jon Bumhoffer. Really appreciate you being on the podcast today. And thank you, listeners at home, for tuning in once again. As always, please like, subscribe if you'd like to get the newest episodes delivered to you. Thanks so much and have a great day.